Well, today we are diving into another classic cake veganized, the Concorde cake. This cake was created way back in 1969 by Gaston Lenotre to honor the brand new Concorde airplane, which was considered a marvel in both engineering and luxury travel at that time. This aircraft was used mainly by wealthy passengers who could afford to pay a high price in exchange for the aircraft's speed and luxury service. It's no wonder this cake, in all of its richness and glory, paid homage to an airplane of equal stature. With a combination of delicate chocolate meringue layers, rich, decadent chocolate mousse covered in chocolate meringue sticks. So let's get started right away with this one, and we're going to make the chocolate meringue first. Aquafaba is the star of the vegan meringue game, and if you're not familiar with aquafaba, it is simply the water from a can of chickpeas. And if you're not into canned things, you can of course boil your own beans. But basically aquafaba has similar properties as egg white meringues from our past lives, and it whips to a beautiful stiff and glossy meringue. Now I've added some cream of tartar to help with stabilization, but this can be left out since I know many people cannot get cream of tartar. And I'm making an Italian meringue by boiling sugar and water to 240 degrees Fahrenheit and then slowly pouring that hot sugar syrup into the whipping aquafaba, and this makes a super strong meringue. Now for the tricky part, to gently fold in the cocoa powder mixed with some confectioner's sugar, taking really gentle care not to deflate your meringue, since aquafaba meringue is much more temperamental than egg white meringues, which is why I did implement the much stronger Italian meringue method versus just a straight French method here. All right, so transfer that beautiful chocolate meringue to a pastry bag, and I'm not even using a piping tube, just a coupler with no tip inserted will do this job. And first pipe out 2 discs, one for the base of the cake and the other slightly smaller for the middle layer. I've traced onto some parchment paper the size of my mold, and this is really helpful so that you get a perfectly sized disc to go inside the cake and then for the base. Now to pipe the meringue sticks, and they don't have to be perfect since we're going to be breaking them up into smaller sticks later. Now, one thing to note about making meringues is that humidity is the absolute destroyer of meringue, and if you notice the doors behind me, you can usually see outside in all of my videos, but today they are all fogged up with humidity. It is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit here in Florida, and I think I've lost my mind trying to make meringues in this weather. Even though I am inside in air conditioning, well, we'll see. Now get them to a dehydrator or the lowest temperature oven setting, and my oven only goes down to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, which actually is low enough, and I've used both, although I do prefer the dehydrator. Unlike egg white meringues where you can bake them to dry them out, aquafaba does not like super high heat, so I find that dehydrating the meringue works the best. I should also note that this entire meringue part should probably be done the day before, since meringues do need some patience, and if you rush the whole process in one day, you're just going to be frustrated. And I'm not going to lie, working with aquafaba, especially in meringue form, is a real pain in the boop. So if you have a major fail, don't be discouraged and think that it's your fault. It's not. It's the aquafaba, not you. But once you've mastered it and you get it all done, it's really an easy assembly with a quick chocolate mousse as the cake, made from semi-sweet vegan chocolate, a bit of hot coffee that I've mixed with some sugar, and that's just going to thin out the chocolate to a more easily workable chocolate base. Because this is an authentic French mousse recipe where we'll be folding in meringue to lighten it up and then whipped cream, you should really decide ahead of time which vegan whipped cream you're going to be using here, and I have an in-depth video where I take a look at and compare all the vegan whipped creams, including my homemade recipe. So now that we've lightened up that chocolate base, you're going to fold in half of the whipped cream, and then the aquafaba meringue gets folded in next. I like to lighten it first with the whipped cream because, again, aquafaba meringue is not as strong as an egg white meringue. So I like to sort of do it in this order. And then the rest of the whipped cream goes in last. And as you see, the vessel that I'm using to mold my entire cake is simply a bowl for that classic dome shape. And I've lined it with some plastic wrap for easy unmolding later. Half of the mousse goes in, and then this is where that smaller meringue disc fits perfectly into the middle layer. The rest of that mousse goes next, and then we're going to just fit that base meringue disc on there. Now get it into the refrigerator or the freezer. I actually put mine in the freezer for just about an hour, and that was perfect. Just give a little tug on that plastic wrap to help it pop out of the bowl. And now I'm just kind of spreading it a little bit because we do have to stick those meringue sticks all over the place for that classic Concorde look. Now I have seen the Concorde cake done two ways, the classic way like I'm doing it here, and some people just sort of pile on the chocolate sticks in random chaotic order, and it's really your preference however you want to do it. I would say piling it on is definitely a lot faster, and it really just depends which way you like the look of yours. So last, a hefty shaving of chocolate and then a sprinkling of confectioner's sugar all over. So the thing about this cake is that it really has to be served the day that it's made, or you're going to lose that awesome crispy crunch of the meringue. Although the Concorde supersonic luxury jetliners were all retired in 2003, one thing's for sure, this cake will never go out of style. The creamy mousse texture against this perfect chocolate meringue is why this cake is one of the classics. I hope that you're going to want to try it for yourself, so head over to my website at Gretchen'sVeganBakery.com to grab the written printable recipe and everything that you're going to need to have success with this cake. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you'll comment below. First of all, have you ever heard of a Concorde cake? And second of all, do you think that you're going to want to try to make this? All right, everyone, thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy vegan baking. Bye for now.